Good evening. If you'd like to join us for the pledging of the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There you go, my love. Okay, who's up? Us?
Amy's up first. All right, I'm up. I'm Amy Green, Conservation Coordinator for the town, and I'm here tonight for a proposed gravel parking lot to service the Oak Hill Conservation Area over on Harvard Road.
Amy, want to hold on a second while we do the hearing notice?
I would.
Public hearing for scenic road special permit, Harvard Road. The Town of Littleton Planning Board and Tree Warden will hold a joint public hearing on Thursday, January 12th, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. in room 103 of Town Hall at 37 Shattuck Street to consider the application for a scenic road review pursuant to MGL Chapter 40, Section 15C, and the Code of the Town of Littleton Scenic Road Bylaw, Chapter 143. Location, Harvard Road, conservation land generally across from Sawyer Lane. The applicant is seeking approval under the Scenic Road Bylaw to allow temporary removal and reconstruction of stone walls and removal of up to 3 street trees to allow construction of a gravel parking area to service the southern and western sides of Oak Hill Conservation Land. Application and plans can be reviewed at the Planning Board and Town Clerk's office during the business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed plan should appear at the time and place designated. Written comments may be provided to the email mtuhill@littletonmass.org prior to January 12th.
We good? Amy, now you're up.
Okay, didn't want to jump the gun. I wasn't sure how familiar you may or may not be with the Oak Hill land, but just to give you some idea. Oak Hill is actually about a little over 200 acres, and it's over twice the size of any other conservation lands that we have. Right now, it's serviced with a parking lot that's down in this area right in here. It says the parking. Right there.
Middle right?
Yep. Which is a very tough parking lot, and it gets overrun, especially on weekends. I don't know if anyone's tried to park there. It's dirt and it's on a hill, and people park on the road and kind of carved out pieces of the side of the road to park in. There is new parking down near Very Fine. The 6 lots, I think it was, paved lots that Reed Meadow agreed to put in, and so that's another trail that goes up. So what the commission wants to do is have a new parking lot on the side that doesn't otherwise get served. Where am I here? The other here. This spot right there.
Right here?
Up here.
Off of Harvard Road?
Yeah, so the existing, the main existing there, this is just shy of the town line, up in there. So we contracted with Green International to help with the layouts and the design and the engineering of the parcel. And this is what they came up with. This is Harvard Road here, and Sawyer Lane comes in this direction. There's a triangular piece of land that I guess Peter Wool, I think, had actually donated when he's doing some of the other work there. And then everything back here behind this blue line is wetland. So they looked, Green looked to site this area, and we agreed that we would go with gravel and under the 7 parking spaces to sort of minimize it, keep the 50-foot distance from the intersection with Sawyer, and try to minimize how many mature trees were taken out from the plot. So that's why it's settled where it is now. Given this, 2, potentially up to 3 trees would need to come out. There's one here, and I noticed one that was really leaning over where the entrance might be. They thought might have to come out when the contractor gets in there, but that would be up for the future. This tree turned out it's dead. It's actually already fallen, snapped in half. So really, probably only 1, potentially 2 trees coming down. And then there's a continuous stone wall along Harvard Road, so it needed to be broken in 2 places. We'd probably leave it up to field conditions and the contractor, whether to rebuild it as sort of a wing down there or along the back of this sort of island that'll be left. It'll be sort of a one-way in and out, and there's room here for someone with a trailer to park if need be, if someone to bring in a horse trailer or who knows what. And space for one handicapped thing right there. Again, it would be gravelled, erosion controls around the outside. We've had one meeting for a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission. It got continued because some of the abutters couldn't make it, so the commission wanted to just carry it on. And I think that's it. Any questions?
Hang on, anybody on the board, anything to, thoughts? Jim, any problems with where it's located?
No.
Trees? Stone wall, nothing?
The stone wall is not very big. I mean, you have to give people access to their property. So generally, they just have them try to stack the stones to the side and do what they can to minimize the openings. One of the trees she talked about is dead. I mean, they marked it, but it's only about 15 feet tall. There's nothing on top. It's completely dead. The one that she's talking about, that's the potential, has a giant, like, root to it. It's not the best looking tree.
It seemed healthy enough, but
Yeah.
So, Amy, do you want to turn that so they can see? The board has that. Sorry, I should have set it up differently.
I gave myself stuck behind it. Oops. No, I can't.
So no, I really didn't mean that to be a trick.
This comes in the front. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
I'd like to make sure that the stone wall, if they lean it out or keep those stones that they're removing, stay. I always hate to see stone walls get.
What we used to do was make them take the stones and turn the ends in.
That would be the preferable, because it's certainly the easiest, is move them. The only reason we left it open was the field conditions, was in case there was we don't have to take down a tree to move the stone wall in there, so right now, the way it's left in the spec is that, the contractor will do it under supervision.
Who's going to supervise them?
We're not even sure who's going to do it yet. So in terms of the concerns about wetlands, I'd be out there watching what they do, and then in terms of the contractual piece, that's to be determined. It's a pretty flat site, it's not
Right, so the
particularly
specs will all be
challenging.
drawn into the proposal to go out to bid and that type of thing, and then
Yes.
someone who ordinarily, who
This
usually
would be a
oversees.
combination. I mean, they constructed one on Oak Hill and it was donated to the town, and I looked at it at the beginning, and then I happened to go on vacation, and Amy looked at it after the fact. So could be any number of people, but.
We'd have Chris look at it,
Plus
the
the ground.
director, the DPW director.
Chris Heap, the attorney?
No, there's a new Chris in town. It's Chris
Oh, yeah, is he the new
Stoddard.
sheriff?
Chris Stoddard, PE, our Public Works Director, so.
I'm happy with,
Yes,
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were here for that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would like to know how, from the parking, how you're going to access to the trail.
The trail is right here.
Yes, in front
That goes up into, so they would, probably the little conservation trust who does a lot of the trail maintenance would cut a trail by hand, no tree cutting, just to get people through here without getting onto the road. They'd stay behind the rock wall.
Could you give us your name, sir?
It's all very wet.
Laurent Dubois, 195 Harvard Road.
You get that okay? Thank you.
But that whole strip along Harvard Road is wet all the time.
You
You
too, ma'am?
couldn't really put it past
When you
that.
go to, address something, could you give your name and address?
Yes, Kathleen Bolin, 195 Harvard Road.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've walked it and determined there is an area, because we flagged the wetlands in here, actually they've been flagged twice. So there's room for a footpath to get through there.
Along Harvard Road versus just cutting across.
Well, not on Harvard Road, but it'll be behind the stone wall, so it won't be in the travelway.
But
We walk that all the time and it's wet now.
And in the springtime, time to time, that trail is flowed too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, as with any casual trail, there may be times when it's not accessible.
Which makes the parking kind of not very useful. Right?
It's not going to be plowed, so it won't be used in the wintertime. So, you know, it's already limited. It is operationally a dawn to dusk parking only, just for any conservation lands.
Kathleen Archer Fitzpatrick, 3 Sawyer Lane. How are you going to enforce the dawn to dusk?
If it becomes an issue, the police are notified, and they'll add it to their patrol.
Will there be signage that says that this?
There'll be
parking
signage,
after dusk?
there'll be a kiosk back in here just with, you know, the name of Oak Hill and how it came to be, the rules and regulations.
Will there be
as well.
trash?
There will not be a trash receptacle there, no.
So what happens to trash?
Carry and carry on, is the motto.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you
There
have to
are-
realize that if they don't, it's going to be in all of our properties, so we're concerned about that, right?
Well, then absolutely call and let us know. There are also land stewards who are specifically responsible for all the different conservation lands, and they walk it all the time. And the Oak Hill people in particular are very active.
So I have can we back up a step? So I'd like to understand, is this a done deal? Has this been approved by the town? Is there funding? Has there been a traffic study about, you know, what that additional cars might do to Harvard Road?
It's 7 cars. There's parking all over the town of Littleton for walking trails. We probably have 20 small little parking lots all over, and we want small ones so that there's only 6 or 7
Okay,
cars.
has it been approved though?
Approved from who? I mean, it's town-owned land. It was donated to the Conservation Commission to access Harvard.
So it's going to happen, is what you're saying? We have no,
Nobody's really expressed any opposition to it.
Is it the most convenient location? It's right on the border with Harvard. Is that really the best location for this large piece of property for the rest of Littleton folks to get to?
It's the only place where there's frontage that isn't also wetland on this side of Littleton. So, you know, we're trying to spread out access into Oak Hill.
And do you have, is it public record, the information and the studies you've done to demonstrate that the other parking lot gets overflowed?
It's just been casual observations. This has been on the Conservation Commission agenda since before I started, so before a couple of years. But it finally got.
But there is some kind of data to back this up.
Only casual people, you know, noticing that the Oak Hill parking lot is full on weekends.
And how many spots are there?
They're not lined or anything. I think I've seen as many as 10 or 12 cars squeezed in there, where there probably shouldn't be 10 or 12. But, you know, people at the other part, you know, they kind of run up the hill, and, you know, the first person that's in there kind of sets how everybody else is going to try to get their cars in there. And parking on the
There's
road.
parking over up
just block it, so I can be the only one there.
Sanderson Road, and the problem's always been that there's just too many cars there. Now you have new houses going on the other side where the parking lots are. The residents that are living there are complaining because the cars are on the side of the road now, so. I think Littleton's fortunate to have another alternative because there's 200 acres of conservation land that everybody in the town of Littleton wants to use, and 6 or 7 more spaces to make more open space available is a good thing. We've already got the Reed Meadow 6 or 7 spots. This will be the 4th way in to get into Oak Hill.
Keith?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, Keith Bergman, Town Administrator, that as a matter of policy, when the town's acquiring open space land, that there's a desire to have public access for it. And public access often means frontage on the street, and it means some kind of small adjacent parking. We're not putting big parking lots in, but there does need to be access, because we get asked, why are we spending millions of dollars to acquire property that no one can get at? So
But this property's this has been acquired not recently. Why now has this come up? Because many of us moved to that area because we knew we had conservation land across from us, and we were, you know, buying into a particular neighborhood, and now
It actually
it's
did
changed.
come up recently. That land was donated, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Back to the conservation,
That was from
specifically
Yes.
specifically
Wasn't
for that
4 or 5 years ago,
reason.
it was recent.
Mr. Chair, also, with all the discussion on our master plan, folks have said that they want to have more access and ability to access our conservation land. So I respect your concerns, but, you know, we can't have folks parking on the side of the road to access that
Agreed.
property.
We visited most of the conservation lands and we walk regularly, a couple of times a week there. I've never seen a parking lot full. I've never seen a parking lot with more than 2 or 3. So I'm just questioning why there's a need for it to be here.
The only one I've ever seen, and frankly, I'm not here very much on weekends, the only one I've ever seen close to full is the Oak Hill one on the other side.
I go by that a number of times, and it's, especially on the nice days, it is definitely full. The other half of the coin is, let's assume they put it there, and as you say, it doesn't get used very much, well,
Is that a good investment for our tax dollars?
then now you're getting in a place where I don't want to go. So I understand your reasoning, totally.
I think that's why we're trying to understand why this was the choice and why, where's the justification for it?
Because there's not an awful lot of spaces to access Oak Hill, and this is a place that was donated to do it. I mean, people want to
Donated to be a parking lot?
donate it to be part of the conservation. You have to have open space. We've done Gray Farm, there's a parking lot there, 7-space parking lot, part of the open space plan. We did the Apple Orchard, we did Morrison's, there's a parking lot down there. As Keith said, every single open space that the town of Littleton's done has at least 6 parking spaces there with it.
Right,
So
which
when
we
you
do,
get
though.
more open space,
We do.
May I, sir?
when you get more open space, you need more access to it. The fact that, I forget what the gentleman's name is, who had the land across the road, who donated it specifically for open space. A parking lot goes with open space, because you have to be able to access. You can't park on the side of the road, and it's only 6 spaces.
And there were no stipulations in the donation
He donated to conservation,
to conservation space?
the Conservation Trust, or the Conservation Commission.
May I?
Your name, please?
My name is Arshad Nisar.
And address?
1 Fire Lane. So I went online to look at Littleton Conservation Land and all the documents. I saw several documents which, the websites are updated in real time. And against each of the conservation area, it lists columns for parking. And for Oak Hill, it says ample parking. It says ample. It's not. Art Lazarus, is that the gentleman who kind of is a conservationist? And he has come up with those documents. He maintains all that. And till right to now, actually I have those printed out in my car. I can bring them on. It says ample parking for Oak Hill. It's a whole list of all conservation lands in Littleton. And there are columns where it says insufficient parking for many others you just mentioned. Oak Hill, it says ample. 3 or 4 documents are like that.
But it's not anymore, because now the land that was ample before is now having houses put on it on Sanderson Road. And the problem is, all the people that used to park on the side of the road at Sanderson Road can't park there anymore because they're building houses. There was an easement over there for the AT&T phone lines, and people used to park there. They can't do that anymore because that's part of the open space that's over there, and it's not a parking lot. So there's definitely a need for more parking spaces at Oak Hill. Oak Hill's been a treasure in the town of Littleton for 60, 70 years. It's been conserved. It's a beautiful place for people to walk, and you have to have access so that people don't park on the side of the road. It's 6 parking spaces. It's 200 acres there. It's 6 spaces. It's a quarter of an acre.
In my area where I live, I've not seen anyone park on the side of the road. I've been living there for
That's
like
because
7
there's
months.
no access there. Once you put access there, people will be able to access the open space that's there.
There's access directly across from our house.
But there's no
People
place
don't
to
on
park.
the side of the road.
So we've strayed well outside of your jurisdiction. You've got the street trees and the stone wall.
Right.
What's their next avenue to have any conversation is more than likely with the selectmen for them, or as far as we're concerned, this is coming before us for the stone wall moving and some trees being taken down. That's what our purview is. So,
Yeah, and if this is the one I think it is, it came about, if it was generated, say, in the last year, it came from the Board of Selectmen being requested by the developer to waive our right of first refusal under Chapter 61A.
No.
Is that a different one?
Yeah,
Okay,
there's on
different
the
one.
other side of Oak Hill.
So, all right.
you're out.
Never mind, okay.
Yeah.
That's the only new one
We
that's
already
come
dealt
up.
with that one.
That's
So,
the only one new
I'd like to
one
make
that's
a
come up.
motion
Yeah.
Please.
to remove the stone wall, saving the stones on site for a center island and a curb at each entrance and exit,
and the removal of 1 and possibly 2 trees.
Second.
Second. I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there some place we can direct them if they wish to have further conversations? More than likely, if they wish to, it's the selectman is who's next, correct? Yeah.
Come to me.
Mr. Bergman will up on the 3rd floor. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Where are we now, Mike?
We're on to board business.
On to board business.
Yes. I know it all too well.
What we're trying to deal with is a little more oversight and some keeping an eye on what gets where and how it goes, and a little direction with Maren and between Maren and Keith and the such. Keith, if you'd like to address how we're going to implement this MOA.
Sure. I was approached by the chair and vice chair over the last month or so to, I think, restart a conversation that may have begun years ago between selectmen and planning board members about whether we can be of assistance, our office can be of assistance in helping to supervise.
Sam, would you mind closing that door for us, please? Because I can hear it.
I think you have to close the other one, you gotta leave that one open.
Close them both? Why? Why do you gotta leave it open?
Well, just don't
This
lock
is?
it. Yeah.
Is the sign
So long
system?
as it's not locked, you're all set.
Thank you.
Thanks. So, the Board of Selectmen has dealt with a number of multiple member boards over the years, including the Board of Health, the Conservation Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, Council on Aging, Cemetery Commissioners.
Oh, yeah, I saw it already. Yeah.
Offering the services of our office, the Town Administrator's Office, to help supervise employees of multiple member boards whose appointing authority, the board, is not on site during the day, and it's a part-time board that the employee may only see a few times a month. In 2014, the planning board had adopted a policy guidance document around performance reviews. Every employee has to annually have a performance review done, and in looking at what some of the options are and how that might be done, there were 4 options that were identified for appointing authority to conduct performance reviews. One is the whole board does it themselves, which I think is the standard that you've been at. Another is the board can vote to designate the chair or less than a quorum to do the review. Third is that the board can enter into a written agreement with the Board of Selectmen to have a full-time employee supervise. And in the case of Conservation, ZBA, and Board of Health in particular, the agreements with those boards that say that the town administrator or his designee supervises the individual, and in those cases for the clerical staff involved, it's been Roland who's been the supervisor. And then the fourth option is to change the appointing authority, and we've only done that with the Council on Aging, where we actually went and had the Council on Aging director, by a vote of town meeting, be appointed by the town administrator, subject to selectmen and COA approval. So the model of having the town administrator supervise an employee was one of the options that was identified, and I think had been, it might have been when Jim Carr was chair, there had been conversations in the past that we never brought to fruition. So in recent days, I've had the opportunity to meet with the chair and the vice chair, to meet with Maren, and to talk about whether this was something that you wanted to do now. And so what is before you is a proposed memorandum of agreement wherein, well, let me just back up. Under the statute the state statute that I operate under, I can perform duties that are requested by another board and approved by my board. So in essence, the form of this agreement would be, if the planning board were to request that I supervise your employee, then the Board of Selectmen would vote to approve your request. In the discussions with Maren, I think we reached some, the issue was raised of the need to have a professional development component in what the annual performance is. I think that's great. In fact, we have another selectmen's policy for workforce development, which was adopted a year or so ago, where the personnel board had drafted that, and we're actively looking to be able to make sure that we have the skill sets from our existing employees, and that's an important part of what we want to do. And the idea behind the supervision being done by one full-time employee for another is that the process would not be subject to the open meeting law, and that's, I have to say, that's a good thing in terms of what's the humane way to perform the personnel function. I'm appointed by a multiple member board. The personnel function for me is done in public, and I think that's fine. I've been doing this for 35 years, and I think it's fine. But where the opportunity would exist to have the department heads be reviewed and to be supervised in a setting that's more of a usual business-like professional setting, our policy is that we owe it to them to try to do that. And so that's sort of where.
All right, so has everybody read this? From the board, our next role is to have a
Maren, would you like to speak on this at all?
You and I had a couple of conversations about it. With the professional development added in there, I think that was very helpful. You guys aren't on site, you don't know what I do day in and day out. Sometimes I've had good luck drawing from you what the goals should be for the next year. Other years it hasn't worked so well. But I don't think that's affected my performance. But you know, this would formalize that process. The other thing was when I'm in the office and something happens and I need some direction or some assistance, you know, at least I'd have somebody else to go to. You know, for a
You're
meeting.
comfortable with this?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Thank you.
Right down the line?
I'm just curious why Keith spoke to the two of you, why you guys want to go along with it.
Sure, I can, so let me start. So this year, Peter and I did the review from her, and she got a good review from us, but we also were sitting there saying, we don't see her every day, so it was hard to create a lot of the answers to the questions on the review form. So sitting there saying, what she does for us, I think she's done a tremendous job. But the day in and day out operations, I really can't review because I don't see her day in and day out. And I felt like if we had somebody that worked with her daily to do that, and to do the whole review, so the review, if you read this, will be done with Keith and the chair or their designee. So that's my angle for why we wanted this.
Okay. What about you?
Along the same respects, as I'm pretty much hands-off. And I don't like being a reactionary to call, you know, as the chairman, you have to answer for certain things here and there. And this time she can't get a hold of me. As she said, she has some issues where she needs to have some input and can't get a hold of me, or you know, perhaps she can get a hold of you easier in the past. But with Keith right across the hallway, it's convenient. I think it's a more professional way to run it. And again, someone who sees her every day and she's comfortable with it. We've got some professional developments, some money going at town floor, and I think it's a good asset. I think, you know, having Keith.
When Martin and I talked about the money for professional development, I also made a point to make it to the budget meeting on Saturday in the snowstorm so that I could request it.
But
the message was received too.
But here's one of the things that I was very adamant about, is that the planning board is still is still the main authority over her. It's not the selectmen, it's not Keith, it's us. I did not want that.
Well, that's the only fear,
That's what I feared from day one.
Yeah, you have my pledge, and I've said it, that this is all about carrying out your policies in a professional, business-like manner. You may find sometime that I'm in here to clarify what your policies are, so that to make sure that we're all on the same page.
I mean, we'll clarify to you what you feel is cloudy. Is that what you're saying? That's what I thought you said.
You do the clarifying.
There we
You're
go.
the clarifier.
No, that's fine. It's different now because nobody has the time like they used to have, and I totally get that. I just wanted to hear from you guys since they had reached out to you two to see.
We initiated the conversation.
With that being said, is our next move is to have a vote on this? As far as...
Do you have an issue with it?
No.
Okay, well, here's the signing of the thing here. Do I have a motion, I
I'll
guess?
make a motion that we make the designee for Lawrence
Well, enter into the MOA as presented.
as presented, sure. Let's do it that way then.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. All right, this is the draft. Do we have...
I have a clean copy.
Oh, do you now? Oh, that's very convenient, isn't it?
And next it goes to the Board of Selectmen.
Right, the Board of Selectmen would take it up at their next meeting on January 23rd, a week from Monday, and it would be helpful to have the chair and vice chair that night. It'll be on first thing, we'll have it on at 6:30.
Huh? I didn't hear what you said, so is it good? Is it going to cost me money what you just did to me? On Monday? Why?
Thank you.
What did I just agree to?
He agreed to be here Monday the 23rd. at
Oh, okay, good, 6:30.
Okay. You better call, let me know whether I disagree or something. How this is going. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Keith.
I'm gonna go home and watch this on cable.
Channel 38.
Pay-per-view?
How you doing?
All right, have we gone over the minutes? Is that we need to?
If you would.
I read all the minutes. I'd like to make a motion to approve. If you all had a chance to review. And the meeting minutes from October 6th, November 3rd, November 21st, and December 1st of 2016.
So
Second.
moved? Is that how we do it?
Yeah.
Second, so moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice to get caught up.
Bills and payroll are coming about the master plan, January 25th, implementation strategies. Is that being addressed by us, or have we got a speaker involved with that?
That was just a reminder that January 25th is the final public forum, 4 to 8 p.m. at the Littleton Middle School. Consultants will be gathering input on implementation strategies. I hope they can say it better than I just did.
Okay. How?
One, construction meeting minutes to accept. Bennett Orchard, staff met with construction personnel, and Green was kind enough to do a detailed minutes of those meetings, so all you need to do is, for the record, if you would just accept those. They were in your meeting packet as well.
That's him.
That's him there, Zora.
Okay. Is that 80 King Street?
The meeting notes from Bennett Orchard.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped E. There you go.
So, if you just accept that, the meeting minutes from. Same process as we do for the construction inspections. I think that way it's similar.
Somebody want to,
So somebody's gonna make a motion
To,
to approve the construction minutes presented by Green International.
what you're doing now?
Give me a minute.
another copy?
Over here.
So moved.
Nobody made a motion yet.
I'm ready though.
Yeah.
I'm sure if Green's okay, we should be all right.
After reviewing the minutes prepared by Green, make a motion to approve the construction update meeting minutes for Bennett Orchard.
You have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
That's it, we worked, that was
And
good.
then 80 King Street, Carl Strathmeyer has made a request to withdraw without prejudice. His applications for,
I'll make a motion that we,
Oh,
there you go, his Water Resource District special permits, until such time the Webbers have, how they're going to treat the rest of their property, then he'll be able to design his updated plans, and he will reapply at that time. But give
with
him-
that being said, does that take him away from having the parking spaces that we permitted him now?
No.
In the meantime?
You did approve temporary site plans for him, and those would remain temporary site plans that have been approved.
And how long are these temporary site plans? Do we have a date on it?
till such time as the Webbers subdivide the,
Well, until such time that he wants to change the site and maybe have this
Open.
additional parking.
No time limit? Okay.
I knew what he was gonna say, right?
All right, I have a motion.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
I didn't know you could shut these off.
It's a good thing to know.
Now I see that.
That's why they're always on, you ever see them on Congress, they're all doing this? So nobody knows what the heck's going on? Everybody at once, press the button.
9:03, 7 o'clock, so we're,
We're back on time almost?
Close.
Very
Uh,
close.
Uh-oh,
I know I can run, but not hide.
bearing gifts? That goes in with a green beaker. Sure.
It wouldn't hurt my feelings if you didn't want to use that one.
A little rickety, ooh, a little rickety. I'm not sure mine are any better, but why don't we just go through it and we'll take it from there. Good evening. For the record, I'm Sue Carter from Places Associates. And with me tonight is Jason Sidman from Sanctuary Medicinals, Inc. And Jim Alex, who's their real estate person. We're meeting with you tonight as part of the process for the registered marijuana dispensary bylaw. What we are doing, and this board may be aware from seeing selectmen presentations, is for a cultivation and processing facility at 234 Taylor Street. What I thought I would do is have Jay give you an update as to where they are in the process, and then I'll give you a brief overview of what's happening in terms of the special permit in Littleton, talk about security, the building, what has to happen on the site. But we thought we'd have him give you a quick update in terms of where they are in the process with permits from the state and those type of things. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having us here tonight. We are seeking a special permit for the location, as she mentioned, at 234 Taylor Street. Ever since we received a letter of support from the Select Board, we submitted that to the state, and we have received our PCRs, or Provisional Certificate of Registration, for a cultivation facility at that address, as well as a dispensing location in Gardner, Mass. So The point that we're at right now with the state and DPH is we are getting ready to do the architectural review process. Once that's approved by the state and we receive a special permit, we can move forward with construction of the inside of the building. Naturally, we're not changing anything to the outside. So that's the current spot where we're in right at this moment.
Great. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure how much time you want me to take or just give you a quick overview. We gave you site photographs and copies of the presentation that we have for tonight. So, basically what I'd like to show you is, so this site is at 234 Taylor Street. So it is, this is Foster Street.
So if I can
495.
interrupt real quick, if you want to turn that and show, we have
sorry.
that, so if you want to show it to the audience.
Okay, that works for me. Let me just get this so I don't trip. Then we're good. Okay.
Is it on this one?
Oh, okay, so it's on there. It's a slightly different one.
Well, now, in that case, now you can show it to us because they can see it from their easy. How's that sound?
Oh, that's a slightly different viewpoint. Actually, these are good. All right, so I will show a quick overview for those. I'm sure the planning board's more familiar with the location. This is 495 Foster Street, Taylor Street. This is the old XRE building, which is now Medtronics, and this is the site locus. So between this building at 234 Taylor Street, there are several residential residences before it gets to Boxborough, so it's almost on the Boxborough line. Do you have this one, Molly? Or is that the only one you have?
This is
No,
just the
it's-
GIS.
Yeah,
Oh,
so-
the GIS, okay.
Yep.
So, if you were, and I don't have my electronic pointer with me, I apologize. So, what you see in the middle of the screen is 234 Taylor Street. This site is going to be, we will be asking for permits for cultivation and processing of medicinal marijuana. So, I believe most of the board members, and I think 3 of you are going to a site visit for a facility in New Hampshire that they have.
I have to bail on that one.
Oh. Well, I went last week on it, so it was really informative. So if you have the opportunity, I'd really recommend it. So what they're going to be doing in this plant is they're going to be totally inside the building. They'll be growing the marijuana plants and processing them. When we say processing, they'll be extracting. Jason, help me. What's the compound we're extracting?
Ganja.
Cannabinoids.
Cannabinoids, okay. And they'll be used, processed so that they're able to be distributed to the approved patients. They put them in capsules, they keep them in liquid form, they put them in food, different food
Brownies?
products.
We could, but add some certain forms of edibles and things like that.
Edibles.
I had a bad
So-
experience with that.
So we will be going into more detail of this for the special permit and the actual hearing process. One of the key components of your bylaw that, as you read it, is there's a large focus on security, on site security. What we wanted to go over with the board tonight is we met with town staff, and one of the concerns that everyone had was discussing too many of the security practices, procedures, and what's going to be implemented within the public realm because we're basically giving it all away. So what we have done is we're working directly between Sanctuary's security people and the police chief directly, as well as the fire chief, so that for all the public safety aspects, whether it be police or EMS, the 2 key people will know it, and we won't be discussing as much within the public realm. If any of the board members want more information, I'm sure you could contact either of your chiefs. We hope to have a letter in hand prior to the public hearing to say that they have approved the security measures. Similarly, in that regard, this board's used to seeing a typical site plan that gives you an idea of what's happening inside the building. What we would be proposing to do is to talk about the general uses, but not necessarily point out that this is where the kitchen is, this is where the vault is, this is where the laboratory is. We'll talk about the different uses within the building, but not specifically tell you where they're going to be located within the building. things we can tell you about security is that they have multiple levels of security, from the simple needing the card pass to swipe to go into a door to biometrics further in the building. We do not anticipate having major changes exterior to the building in terms of changing the lighting or anything that would have a direct impact on the abutters. So it's not like there's going to be motion sensor lights that kick off every time the wind blows too hard or it snows too hard. The intent is going to be to have the minimal impact on the neighborhood and so that you barely know it's there. We've done a quick rundown of our site. There's a 1994 approved site plan, and this is what I gave you in your packets. So what we've shown is there's going to be very few changes on the exterior of the building. We'll be doing some additional screening of the parking in the front, which I think everyone would agree is a good idea in general. There'll be a security gate set back far enough so the fire truck can pull in off the street if they have to respond to an alarm. We'll be putting in a natural gas generator because these plants are going to be very sensitive to climate control. So if the power goes out, they need to keep fans in the air circulating. Related to the kitchen use, we'll be putting in a grease trap. Related to the cultivation of the plants, the marijuana plants, they will be hydroponically grown. So in that, we looked at all different aspects of the best way and the lowest water usage of that. So it will be recycled water with filtration systems. And as such, we'll be putting in an industrial holding tank to take any backwash from the filtration systems or any wastewater from the plant propagation. And the other thing that we'll be doing is there's some old HVAC units on the residential side. So if you look at that plan there, on the lower side of the building facing the residential, just below where the arrow is, those units there are old rooftop units. Those will be replaced with more updated, energy efficient, and more quiet units. So we'll actually be helping out the neighborhood a little bit in terms of sound and appearance. In terms of traffic, they're expecting 20 employees maximum, and right now the site plan for that site is approved for 60 employees. So
How many?
it's approved for
60?
60, and we'll be putting a third of that, 20. Transportation of finished products will happen multiple times during the week, and it will be in through a secured sally port. I'm not sure how many of you remember with the police station. A sally port is basically a garage bay that a vehicle pulls in. It's locked and secured before any of the other doors into the main part of a building is open. So it gives them great security for transportation and transfer of any of the product. So that they're really going through addressing a lot of the security issues that you normally would have. Where we're at in terms of the permitting process for the formal permitting is we'll be applying within the next week with all the documentation and paperwork and a site plan for you. And we're hoping to hit your February 2nd meeting with a public hearing. We have gotten a list of abutters for 300 and 1,500 feet, so we're well on our way to meeting those requirements. So if anybody has any questions or any issues that you would like us to deal with in greater detail when we get to the formal public hearing, we'd be happy to answer questions now and also be prepared to bring more information for you at that time.
All right, open up to the board. Would you have any questions?
So I see the improvements that you're going to make on the building and obviously limited access inside, which I think is a good thing, but you'll still be pulling proper building permits and having the inspections by the plumbing, electrical, and building inspectors.
Absolutely.
There'll be pretty extensive electrical and plumbing work done inside the building in order to accommodate the growing.
I think at some point in time, all those drawings become public.
They do through the building permit process, but it's not quite as public as having it shown on TV at a planning board meeting.
The security layout, that probably would never be on any building plans or anything like that.
All right. Jamie?
No questions.
Not at this time.
Could you, when you say you're going to hit the planning board, the next time, could you say we'll have a meeting with the planning
Oh, I'm
board?
sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Just trying to have some fun. Anybody in the audience would like to have any questions? Anything? Nothing? Good. Where do we stand?
We got somebody right there.
Oh, Sue, I believe, right?
Anna Houston, 20 Maple Road.
You were close. So, I had one letter right.
Close.
I'm sorry. I told you I was bad with names.
So, we're from Colorado, which obviously has had a couple years of experience with marijuana growing. And one of the things that one would not think is so obvious, but is the smell. It can be very strong, even when you're a distance away. So we were wondering if you have plans for keeping
That's a great
smell
one.
contained?
That's a very valid point and great question. We actually have a facility in New Hampshire, we're one of the license holders. And believe it or not, our cultivation site, which some of the board is gonna come up and take a peek at, there are residences actually closer than the closest residence on that. So the types of things that we use to mitigate and control odors is carbon filtration. Then we also use UV sanitization in the ductwork, similar to a hospital, as well as HEPA filtration. And then when we're taking down a room, that means harvesting a room. We also use ozone to clean up and mitigate any remaining debris in the room. So believe it or not, the facilities actually are really well controlled nowadays as far as odors go.
And I know when I went to see the facility last week, we couldn't find it. It wasn't marked, and you couldn't tell by the smell where it was. We had to wait until these gentlemen showed up to take us inside for us to actually know that we were at the right building and the right corner of that building, because there
It
was
was cold
nothing-
last weekend. You had your windows up.
It
So you go down
actually
the
was
windows,
during the
stuck your
week,
head up.
it was during the week.
All right.
So, but the mitigation at that site, so if whoever's going on the sidewalk on Saturday, that may be something that you want to pay attention to, whether or not you can smell it before you actually know where you're looking at.
Any other questions? Is that satisfying? Okay.
Just Marion Meeks, 27 Maplehurst. Just curious, what are the hours of operation going to be?
The hours traditionally in New Hampshire, I'd say it's between 8 and 6 p.m., but there could be times during peak harvest or something like that where there may be employees there that are there at later hours. But it's not a 24/7 facility, so to speak. Now, the control aspects of the facility are there, so what I mean by that is our director of cultivation and myself and other employees have on our tablets exactly the climate, all the cameras, humidity, everything like that, where we can make modifications at a touch of a button. Yeah, so there's a lot of automation.
For the most part, once you pull into the building, you're there. It's not.
That's right.
There's not foot traffic.
Oh, no, it's not open to the public.
Right.
It's cultivation only.
All right. Well, good. It's informative, progressive. Thank you.
Good.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We will see you at your next
Thank you.
meeting for the
Hopefully
public hearing. Thank you.
Be nice. Don't hit us.
Thank you.
I'll try not to.
Thank you.
You know what I meant? You know what I meant, right? Geez, you never thought in the old days that it was a couple of filters, you know? Tax law.
We got a few minutes in.
Thank you. Thank you. Great night.
Thanks.
Good night.
The way they set it up.
Bank, you can't put the money in the bank.
Actually, there is
Federal.
one bank, there is one bank that is doing it now.
Because it's a
And
federal thing.
they'll talk to you about it.
Well, because
If you bring it up during
everybody's
the
worried
hearing.
about the feds grabbing the money, because it's still illegal.
Federal.
Federal.
Should we ask them about the money? It's none of our purview
No,
anyway.
not
You-
now,
you
but
can
we can
in the
ask them,
hearing.
because that is gonna be security.
Yeah.
Start that in February.
Because it's not.
Um,
We have 5 minutes.
Yeah, you have 5 minutes. Do you want to do the library? So Sam can,
We'll make them wait.
okay.
I think it'll be longer than a 5-minute wait. don't you?
Okay.
Oh, Jesus. We do want to get rid of it.
The library.
Yeah.
Uh,
My, We could do it before we do Cooper, just to get them out of there.
I know it's gonna leave.
Okay.
Well, what time is that one coming on? What do we still? Huh?
8:15.
8:15.
Why are you so early? All right, we just did this one, right? That one's a building department, that's up there.
Never mind, let Cooper go first then.
What's his name? This is, make her wait. Make her wait. They all showing up? Yes. Not before us? That thing's huge.
Too late now.
You can try and make this work.
It's a waste of money. You ask about the numbers that people go in. You know what that equates to? 56,000 people, that's 1,000 people a week. It's 150 people a day.
You're not missing that.
Hold it for a while.
No.
You looked at it, I saw you looking, I saw your hand move. Your hand moved.
No.
You want this gavel.
You did this gavel. You want me on that wall.
We live in a world with walls. Those walls have to be defended. Who's gonna do it? You? You, Weinberg? I don't think so. All right, I'll go to the bathroom. Let's call.
So both the cut sheets are on there too.
JJ, I must have trained you well.
Huh?
I must have trained you well.
I know.
Thank you.
I'll print out
How do you pronounce that name right there?
the condensed list so you'll have it. Because there were, there's multiple duplicates and stuff, so we only mail one, so.
I'm gonna slaughter that one.
But I'll send you that master that I
Show them us.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. If you put anything in the record, put in it.
What's that?
Put anything in the record that you want to put in.
I was happy to get rid of those. They've been taking up so much space on my desk.
Oh, so this,
There you go.
you want drinking after this?
Yeah.
Are you going after this? You wanna cross those?
Do we need to read this?
It is
No, you
warm,
don't need to read
very
it.
warm.
Ed, you wanna cross those after this? You guys shoot something?
Season's over.
Yeah, get with it, Mark.
I don't know, I think he shoots all year, he doesn't care.
Hey, I'm a rule follower.
Don't you have 3 boys? What did you tell them when you go to the bathroom?
What's that? Dude, listen. Yeah, guess what? I can serve water. It should in my house. If you pee, you don't flash. If you get poop, you flash
When
immediately.
it's yellow, let it mellow. When it's brown, send it down.
Exactly.
Don't
I'm protecting my septic system and the water system.
The water quality of life? You're gonna go with that, are you?
JJ,
Yeah.
got a question for you. So Russ did my septic system 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And he did my neighbor's 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Property lines changed and he did both of them. He changed the property line. He pinned it for mine and then 12, 14 years later, does my neighbor's design and takes 10 feet of land away from me. It runs down to 0 because it ran out with 10 feet on the back.
7:30.
Yeah, I know.
Peter? 7:30, open the public hearing.
Okay. Excuse me?
I'm just 1 minute out, I guess.
You gonna read this?
We still got a minute.
Pardon? Where do we stand now? We're, I'm sorry, I lost place after that last. Public hearing, Cooper Farm Estates, that's where we're at now?
Do your disclaimer.
We need to have a reading from the will?
Ready?
Yep.
Public hearings, definitive subdivision, open space development, special permit, over 55 housing development, and shared residential driveway, Cooper Farm Estates. The Town of Littleton Planning Board will hold consolidated public hearings on Thursday, January 12th at 7:30 PM in room 103 at Town Hall at 37 Shattuck Street to consider the applications for approval of a definitive subdivision plan, special permits for an open space development, an over 55 housing development, and a shared residential driveway for a residential development project, Cooper Farm Estates, pursuant to subdivision control law, MGL Chapter 41, Sections 81K through 811 GG, and MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Sections 173 through 193 through 173 through 118, open space development, sections 173 to 145 through 173 to 164, over 55 housing developments, and sections 173 through 125 through 173 through 127, shared residential driveways of the Littleton zoning bylaw.
That's what it is.
The project site for each application is identical and is located at 180 Great Road, including a portion of map U-11, parcel 61. The proposed plans show 25 units of new single-family housing and 24 units of over 55 housing with 2,280 linear feet of new roadway plus a shared residential driveway to serve the over 55 housing units. Property owners Kristen Shellhas, Barbara O'Connell, trustees Cooper Farm, Irrevocable Trust, and On the Rail Farm. Applicant M&M Realty Trust. Applications and plans can be viewed at the Planning Board and Town Clerk's office during their business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed applications and plans should provide written comments prior to January 11th, 2017, or comment at the public hearing. The Town of Littleton does not discriminate on the bias of disability. Further, a signed translation of this hearing will be provided for the hearing impaired upon request by contacting the Planning Board office at mtula@littletonma.org or 978-540-2425, 1 week prior to the meeting date.
Thank you. That's a lot to say, huh?
That was a lot to say.
Thank you for reading that all for us.
To be, make everybody aware, I am related to Matthew Field, his wife is my sister, right there. So if anyone has any issues with me being on this board, having anything to do with it, I want it known now or forever hold your peace. Nothing?
I think that's a concern I've heard in the community, so I will express it.
You've heard that concern in the community?
Yes.
From someone other than yourself?
Yes.
Could you name somebody?
I think, I'll
Just
say it for
sure.
myself.
For yourself,
I
that's
don't
so.
think you need anyone other than me.
All right, does the board have any issue with it? Does the proposers have any issue? So noted. Go ahead. And if you would
Evening.
please address tell us your name and
Absolutely. Jennifer Platt here on behalf of M&M Realty Trust. The trustees, Matthew and Michael Field, are here this evening. Also with us is our engineer, Jonathan Markey from Markey and Rubin. And you can see our plan is up on the screen. We were here last month and the month before with our preliminary open space plans. We had received some input both from this board and from the other boards in town. Incorporated that, all the information and input we've gotten so far, and now we have our definitive plan up in front of you tonight. As you know from the reading of the notes, we're looking at an open space plan here. It's approximately 42 acres, 25 new open space residential lots going around towards the front of the property, and then a 55 and plus development, which is the circle towards the lower left-hand side of the property. We've been working on this plan with various members of the town, or the selectmen, trying to come up with the best plan that we could to maximize certain aspects of the plan that were very important to the town, primarily the open space. And as you look at the plan, you can see going along Great Road, there's been a huge effort to try to maintain, it's about 300 feet of open space from Great Road going down into the parcel, as well as there's a large open space on the bottom right-hand portion of the parcel as well. We've surrounded the property with walking trails so the public can have access to the open space. As you may recall, the concept was to have the open space in the top left-hand corner is going to be for recreation, most likely ball fields as determined by the town, and then the remainder of the open space is agricultural and passive. Right now, the majority of this property is used for agricultural, including that the open space down on the bottom half of the property, which is hayfield. Pumpkin fields are up in the top. So there's been an effort to try to maintain that portion up front for agricultural use for the town. One other aspect of the property to point out, there's one existing residential house on the property, and that's being gifted to the town once we get through the permitting process to be used either as an affordable housing or for Parks and Rec, but for some public use as determined by the town. So that's part of the, would be part of the gift of from the developer to the town. All the open space would be gifted to the town once we're through the permitting process.
Thank you.
We've submitted a number of waiver requests. I'll leave that to our engineer to walk through in more detail, as well as any questions you have about the plan in general.
Very good. Open it up to Mr. Markey, I believe. Yes. Do you have any questions about her statement for any reason?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I'll be here.
Heard it before.
So attached in your packet, you have a list of requested waivers from Littleton subdivision of land regulations. The first one being cross-section cuts at 50-foot stations is required with the site plans. Typically, we do profiles, we'll submit some typical cross-sections, but to do them at every 50 feet, the plan set is already up to 24 pages. It would take another probably 5 or 6 more pages to put the cross-sections on there. And basically what you're trying to get out of the cross-sections is given with the typical cross-sections and the details that we've provided. So we're asking for a waiver to allow typical cross-sections in lieu of the every cross-section at 50-foot station. The second waiver is construction management plans are required with definitive subdivision. Since the only routes to I-495 from the site of this subdivision is via Great Road, then either straight to 495 or continuing onto King Street, this would cover all the truck routes on to 495. Further information on the construction management will be provided in the SWIP, and this is submitted prior to construction. Considering the limited options for maneuvering construction vehicles and that further construction control is to be provided, we request a waiver on providing additional information at this time. The third waiver is cost estimate is provided for all construction costs with the proposed right-of-way and associated easements. However, these estimates are based on actual quotes from local contractors and not Mass Highway Department's standard specs for highways and bridges. We will increase that cost by 25% for inflation, but we would not be using the Mass DOT weighted averages. Another waiver is to provide hydraulic grade line analysis for the storm drains. We do provide full drainage calculations for all the pipes proposed in the subdivision, and that's how we size the pipes using the software that we've provided. The hydraulic gradient analysis, it provides no further benefit for the design of the structures. The fifth waiver, a minimum 30-foot setback for all property lines is required for the retention basins. However, in this subdivision, the layout of the lots and generation of open space limits the options for the locations of the retention ponds. I've tried to leave them as much buffer as I can, but given the location of the wetlands, the access to the site, the open space, and the control of the runoff all limit the options for the precise location of these ponds and basins, so therefore we request a waiver to the regulation. Number 6, all curbing shall be Mass DOT granite curb type 5A4 as approved by the board and shall be installed on both sides of the street and for the total length of the street and on other streets for the full radius plus at least 3 feet on each end of all street intersections. Mass DOT slope granite edging type SA shall be used for the inner and outer circle cul-de-sacs and for median islands when median islands have been approved by the board. A waiver is requested to allow bituminous berm in lieu of vertical and sloped granite curbing throughout the project. Number 7 requires 5-foot cement concrete sidewalks with a 3-foot grass strip. A waiver is requested to allow a 4-foot bituminous sidewalk with a 1.5-foot grass strip. This is due to the fact that we're providing additional walkways along the areas. As you can see up at the top, that this will actually connect all the way from the corner of the property all the way across Great Road to the first entrance, then back down. It comes around this cul-de-sac, comes down around this cul-de-sac, and then actually circumnavigates the entire over 55.
That is the area you're asking relief from?
Yes. Yep.
How many feet is that?
It would be the, let me zoom in, hold on. It's going to be basically the same length of the roadway minus this portion of it, so it's going to be around, I'd estimate it at, I can give you an exact number, but for right now, an estimate's going to be around 2,000 feet. Another waiver request, the regulations require all storm drainage pipes be reinforced concrete pipe. A waiver is requested to allow all storm drainage pipes to be constructed of high-density polyethylene, HDPE. And the last waiver is open space development requires density yield plans show all lots can support the placement of an on-lot septic system for a 4-bedroom dwelling, as evidenced by soil testing and percolation tests. While a significant number of test holes have been performed on the site, the requirement to test every lot on the yield plan is excessive. We've performed over 50 test holes on the site and can confidently say that all lots shown on the yield plan will support a 4-bedroom dwelling. That concludes the waiver requests.
I'll ask you a question first off. These 50 spots that you've tested?
Yes.
Spread across the entire area or just consolidated in one area? Each of these, this is kind of hard to read.
Back to.
Is it possible for you to
Is
give
it
me?
EC, drawing EC? 2 of 21?
Yeah, I can open that one.
Your intention is for these roads to become public ways, correct?
Yes.
Oh, except for
For the
the
shared driveway.
shared driveway, 55 and over.
So the
Dean
soil
Lane is
testing
driveway.
was performed in this area, up in this area, this area. There were some holes done along this tree line, and there were holes done in this area.
These holes are dug in the high side of the property, up here, right?
Yes, the lowest test holes were performed down in this area, which is almost the lowest portion of the site.
And those? What's the perk rate there? And you've done modeling, I presume?
It's gonna take me a minute to find those holes.
These ones that are up the upper left-hand side, that's, all these testing right here?
These ones?
Up there?
Yep,
Yes.
yep.
Those are where you propose to put the...
The common septic, yes.
Okay. These are all things that are subjected to the Board of Health, correct? As far as that is concerned, the passing of those? Jamie, do you have any questions?
I have some questions on the conservation piece. You want me to hold off on that? While you...
Sure, we'll address...
The waiver requests.
Are we, do we...
So those test holes that were performed on the low portion of the site, groundwater, estimated seasonal high groundwater at 24 inches, perk rate of 16 minutes an inch.
16?
1/6.
Thank you. And the ones up on the upper, the highest point, if you don't mind?
The ones that are the ones up in here, or where the septic system's going?
Up there, yeah, right there. Questions coming?
I think it'd be helpful if we took the areas where they tested and maybe put it on the density plan. That way we could at least see it in regards to the lots that are there.
Okay.
Just so that we could kind of
Overlay them?
that way, yeah, overlay them, make it a little easier.
Well, the ones that are, I think the ones we're not all that worried about is sorts is, again,
Yeah,
up. That up there isn't a giant issue. The top isn't.
So the series that we're looking at in this area that you had asked about, the slowest perk rate that we had in that area was 30 minutes an inch, with an average in the teens.
Okay. Ed, any questions?
So on the waiver request,
Do you want to address those? Is this the,
we,
go through them piece by, one by one?
Do you want to wait until you have the peer review, get
Yeah.
recommendations?
Yeah.
that's my recommendation. I just am looking to make a comment, but they're all typical waiver requests, so I'll wait for the peer review before I make a motion.
All right. Mark, any,
No, I'm good. Other than that, I just would make it a little easier to see it if you could put some of the way you tested on the
Yeah.
yield plan.
don't want you testing underneath the road. Jamie, you had some questions that are sort of,
on the conservation piece.
which is the lower.
Let's see how the field, no?
You want me to move on to that? You done with the document in front
Well,
of you?
we're gonna end up, again, it's gotta go through peer review for us to, have some conversations from, is Green International doing the peer review?
They've sent a proposal, right?
Right.
We've already paid.
Okay.
Right, we've got the proposal from Green, we've got, the review has been funded by the applicant. They're waiting for some clarity from Conservation Commission on some conservation issues.
Just for the record, you said who paid, who paid?
I just, a
We
relevant
paid.
question.
You are.
M&M, Matthew Field from M&M.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, yeah.
Go ahead. All right, cool. All right, so chatting about this open space piece here, the left-hand side closest to the west side, proposed for sports fields. The middle piece behind, I was thinking like towards Groton side.
Oh, all right.
I'm
Yes,
looking
you're
at
right.
it from
You're right,
behind.
it's the west.
Okay, and
Sorry.
the plot behind the dwelling that's standing there now, agriculture. And then the furthest side closest to Pickard's agriculture. The spot in the back that's currently in agriculture, Danny Pickard is farming that. If that continues to be in agriculture, which I'm a big supporter of our food system, keeping that pretty strong in Littleton over conservation and just open space, how would a farmer access that?
So at the end of the cul-de-sac, right here is an access path. It will have a sign out front that says authorized vehicles only. It serves a few purposes. One is it serves as access to the two ponds that are located right here for, operation, maintenance, inspections. So in order to access this area, you would come down to the end of the cul-de-sac, come down this path, and then come through this path, this is one of the proposed paths, and that would bring you right out into the open space.
And currently, how much of that is wetland? Is there any muddy?
Well, see this line right here?
Yep.
This is the existing tree line, and we're not proposing to do anything with that tree line.
Okay. And then, do you have an idea of how wide that?
How wide the open space is?
How wide that access road would be to that plot of land?
Well, in this area, it's really just going to be lawn from the backs of these houses to the pond. And this, when I say pond, this pond is actually very shallow and very wide. It's actually going to look like a soccer field that's inside a bowl.
Yep.
So once you come down this access path, this is actually going to be that wood chip pedestrian path. So you can drive right on that out to the field.
So as for the access path from that cul-de-sac
Yep.
to the back here, how wide is that going to be?
Oh, that's probably 15 feet wide. I can get a measurement on it, but.
But wide enough so the maintenance and the tractors and pickup trucks, whatever needs to get back there to farm that back parcel.
Yeah, if it goes into agriculture.
That they can do that.
Yeah, as it's graded, the flat portion that's graded right now is 24 feet wide.
Okay.
Will that be part of your proposal? Is that to be deeded to the access?
It is. It's a proposed drainage and access easement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have for right now.
So the unit owners of 19 and 20 potentially have an easement through their property for access.
They have a lot line.
Yeah, there's a lot line that runs right through there.
Okay. But the access path runs in their backyard, the wood chip trap path? Right?
Yes.
Is part of their backyard?
Yeah, so this is their property line, and that's the path.
Okay, just want to clarify.
Mark?
No, good. Good for right now.
One question I have regarding the open space. Right now, we understand all the open space to be going to the town, but it's not designated to any one individual or one entity. It is to the town. Okay.
And the same with the house?
The house is what
The town decides.
To the town.
decides.
All right, board's happy with the presentation so far? Anyone from the audience would like to speak? Okay, oh, there's one. There's two.
Sam Bell, 508 Great Road. I'd like to follow up on Jamie's comments on the ag land, especially the field in the upper left corner, which abuts Garden at Church Meadows, which the town recently purchased and designated as ag land. It would be good to have ag land next to ag land and make it a little bigger piece. I'm going to also go the distance toward helping to promote the farmland or entryway into Littleton, which has been an opinion that people like about Littleton. How would that be designated ag land?
Well, presently it's not, but how many acres are presently, you call it the ag land next to the church, it's called Church Meadows?
Church Meadows.
And those are the ones that have the trailers parked up there in the building?
It's been cleaned up recently.
How many acres are there?
I believe that's about 6 up top and 3 down below.
How many of those are cultivated now, all 9 of them?
3.
4 or 5.
It's up to 5. I think it cultivated though, it's might be closer to 4.
Right, well, again, that's something that the town decides what that gets used for in the long run, in the end. It's not our decision. All right, thank you. Ma'am, or, yes, ma'am?
Yes, I'm just curious how that situates going towards Laurel Road. Does it border it in any way, or is it visible from Laurel Road? or-
Can I have your name again, ma'am?
Cheryl James,
Cheryl James, and you live?
on Laurel Road.
There you go. Laurel
Can we
is,
show that down on the bottom? There we go.
I think you're gonna have a hard time seeing anything going on there, aren't you? Isn't that all woods right behind? All Laurel Road, is that it?
Yeah, this is a wetland area, and then once you get beyond this wetland line, this is mature vegetation all down in here.
There's an existing path.
You don't intend, that you don't,
Yeah.
you're not going in there, you're not clearing anything down? And how far from Laurel Road is your first house?
Basin. we get the
Yeah,
basin.
your
First.
foundation, your first,
Further.
yeah. How far away is that, do you think it is? 100 feet, 200, 500?
482.
It's a long way, I can't punt the ball that far.
And the stone wall that borders the property now, is that going to remain there, or?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
There's no intention to alter any of that existing woodlands right around the edge. And there is that existing walking path. So if you can get through the woods, you have access to a very nice walking path around the edge of the property.
Ma'am?
Yes, my name is Anne Grace. I live at 82 Nashoba Road. I'm also a member of the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I'm very interested in the waiver that's being requested for the sidewalks, making them smaller from 5 feet down to 4 feet, and reminding the committee that this town has adopted complete streets, which is to promote walking, cycling, bicycling, and all users of roads, not just cars. So I don't understand the logic of reducing the size of the sidewalk, which has been specified by the state.
Sidewalks are for walking, roads are for biking. We want the bikes on the road, we want the pedestrians walking.
Totally agree. So let's talk about sidewalks. What is the logic of reducing the size of the sidewalk when we want to be a complete streets community? Right?
Makes sense. I can't address that. I don't know how to address it. How do I feel about reducing them? I'm not certain you need a 5 foot wide, but I don't think 3 feet is good enough either. So I mean, for 2 people to walk by one another, you don't need a 5 foot walkway. That I believe is possibly excessive. However, yeah, but as far
May I
as,
suggest that actually that an ADA approach to this would say 2 wheelchairs should be able to pass. So that might be the logic for 5 feet.
that's a good one. Thank you.
Well, I would encourage the committee not to give that waiver.
Thank you. Sir?
My name is Jeff James on Laurel Road also. So that's nothing to do with Laurel Road. Fire equipment. Now, you've got a very large area of open space there. And is there any fire roads figured into that, or any way of getting equipment in there?
I don't know if they've addressed that there. There's gonna be fire hydrants running through the property, correct? We're gonna have fire hydrants. The access is obviously if a tractor can get back there and mow the fields, it should be access to the lower back side of it. Other than that, the front of it seems accessible from 2A and from whatever access roads they're putting in it, both Cooper Lane, Cooper Farm Lane, and Field Lane. It looks like it's
There's
accessible.
plenty of access for
Yeah.
trucks, et cetera, et
Yeah,
cetera.
that's, it appears. We'll make sure that that's that's something that we have access to.
Is there any chance of a fire pond being in there?
I don't know if they would need one, seeing as how they got town water.
You got town water, but you've got some footage there to run lines.
Well, the access path between those two units is large enough to accommodate the brush truck. It's also going to be compacted gravel under the lawn, so you could actually get the tanker in all the way to this point. So if you had to lay lines for the brush truck could forward lay in.
That's a logical answer.
Well, I think the positioning of the fire hydrants will make a difference also. If they turn around and, again, put a head here, so you can go right between, obviously they can drag them out through between houses. Again, Green International more than likely tell us where they would like to have the fire hydrant heads. Okay?
Thank you. Good. As long as the issue's being addressed.
Thank you. I'm sure that Green's pretty thorough. Ma'am?
So Amy Tarla Lewis at 3 Omega Way, and I didn't have a question, just more a couple of statements. At the town, people really had raised private money specifically to connect the Cooper Farm because it's been a well-known and stated fact to preserve that tract of land. But despite this, the BOS chose not to assert our first right of refusal. And the deal has always been contingent upon permitting this, and I would encourage you just not to rubber stamp this. The land should be used for agriculture as much as possible. And finally, in my humble opinion, I think that any board that permits this project is complicit in the failure to pursue our town's long-stated goal of our town to increase, conserve, and preserve open space and agricultural heritage.
I can appreciate that, but you gotta understand, when it gets to here, the horse is out of the barn, right?
And at this point, being one of the last of the large landowners in town, I respect that, and I want to see agriculture before I want to see just open fields that are not tended to. I like the cultivated look, and I like knowing that our food system is secure. But despite what we have at hand right now, we need to figure out how we can best work with developers, and I think what we have in front of us is something that we can work with and making all parties happy. The conservation side, the sports side, the developers, and the folks who sold the property. And I think that we need to kind of be open-minded so that we all come out happy with what we have at hand. And it's just making sure that we have the right people at the table to have the conversation, to make sure that if we want to preserve it as agriculture, that farmers are going to be able to farm back there, because, these people are going to be sold off this development because of the open space, but maybe they don't want to hear the rumbling of a tractor. So it's just making sure that we have the right parties involved and kind of coming to a common ground. But I can respect where you're coming from on that, for sure.
Ma'am?
Yeah, Cami Bean, Oak Road, so where the wetlands are our backyard, so I'm very familiar with them, and I'm concerned on the waiver letter list. I think it's item number 5, which is about the setbacks. A minimum 30-foot setback to all property lines is required for the retention basins. And because of the proximity to the wetlands, you're basically saying you don't have enough room, so you're asking for those wetland regulations to be waived. And my understanding is that those are in place to protect the groundwater that we've got and the wetlands all around it. So that seems like a pretty big thing to be giving up for the town if we're trying to preserve the quality of the water down there and all that runoff that's coming off of there. I would urge us not to grant that and come up with some other plan there. I'm also concerned with the sidewalk thing. It sounds like that's not ADA compliant to me, and I think that's a concern. Number 8, which asks about storm drainage pipes. I think the law, or the bylaw, is that storm drainage pipes are reinforced concrete pipe, and the waiver is asking that they are constructed of a plastic. I think there's a danger of that leaching into the watershed again, and that's not good. I would highly encourage us to stick with concrete pipes. And just overall, you know, concern about have you guys done adequate testing on those septic systems to ensure that that groundwater is going to retain what it can? I've seen the effects of the Toyota property when that was built. The stream in that backyard turned white. I mean, you guys you might have seen it on Maplehurst and Laurel. It was just, there's so much stuff gets put into that groundwater, and we know that's the head of the Concord, that's the Neshoba. It's a really important piece of our watershed for this area.
So a couple items real quick. As far as the septic goes, that's the Board of Health purview.
Yeah.
Speaking to the pipes, Jim Clyde from DPW, typically we grant that waiver because we find that we don't grant that waiver. We always go with concrete. So the last subdivision we did, we approved with
For
dirt.
Sanderson outside of the right-of-way?
I'm just trying to remember.
For the drainage.
For the drainage.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, that's
Outside the road right-of-way.
Right, we went to Plaza. That was what I'm trying to recall. So.
We have a new DPW director, we'll have to get his opinion on what he feels too.
Okay, thank you.
There's one other thing she...
The setback.
Would you like to address that?
Yep. The setback requirements, we'll take this pond, for example. If you notice, we're trying to, so this property line here is too close to the side slopes for the bylaw. But if I make the property line further away, it's going to decrease open space. So I'm trying to get, a balance of where I can fit these ponds and take advantage of the open space and the pond at the same time. So if I come into compliance, sure, I can change the side slope of this to make that compliant. But in this area, I can't go any further down into this area. So
You see what he's saying, ma'am?
So
Yeah.
we would end up losing open space if I have to comply with the regulation.
And it's really a matter of where a lot line is laid out on the plan as opposed to
Just suppose where the
distance
wetlands
to
presently
wetlands.
is.
Can't you make the house lot smaller and keep the
No, they're
open
not
space?
house lots, it's
an
open space.
It's an internal lot line, it's not, there's no houses going there, it's just the separation between the development part and the open space part. He could shift it over this way and you just have.
We just lose an
less
acre or two of open
and
space.
More for this development side.
Is that a fair assessment?
Mhm.
Okay, ma'am? Any other?
Sure. Don McIver, 43 Foster Street. And just to simplify this, I've done a one-page comment, which I'll give tomorrow, and I would like to read it. And I think it gives some perspective on the use of the open fields. That's the main concern. So just to provide the perspective, which I haven't heard here before, when the budding Church Meadows to the west land, which is, as you probably know, the all-volunteer hunger relief community garden operates, and all the produce goes to loaves and fishes. When it was offered for sale, a private developer outbid the town's appraised value. So as a result, the members of the Congregational Church and the Littleton Conservation Trust dug deep into their own pockets and made personal financial donations. And so same with the broker of the real estate, about $25,000 to the town to match the higher costs that was being bid by this developer. And since the town had right of first refusal, it could acquire Church Meadows. And the whole intent there was to merge it with that field it abuts. And that would make one contiguous farm parcel easy to farm. You wouldn't have to take a tractor out on the street or around. It would all be contiguous. And this has been in place for a bit. So it'd be designated for agriculture, connected to the Hunger Relief Community Farm as originally planned. Now, I know there's interest in sports fields, and nothing against sports fields, but it has no geographic necessity, whereas agriculture being adjacent does have that necessity. Plus, it also gives the scenic benefit that people have cited. And at the time, the Trust for Public Land worked with the town and offered to run a capital campaign to raise needed money to acquire the Cooper Farm in order so it could be joined with Church Meadows. That was the intent. And the town administrator referred to this as the big farm deal. Big FD is what Keith kept on saying. As a result, when we did get Church Meadows, a conservation restriction for it was left open-ended. And it's still left open-ended. And the idea was to have the conservation restriction span over. So it's one simple conservation restriction. And that conservation restriction is mandated, especially with the way Church Meadows was acquired. So, public entities such as the Concom or any other public entity that's qualified and appropriate should hold the conservation restriction on Church Meadows and at least that one west field that we've cited, the one next to the street and abutting Church Meadows. And that's to ensure specified conditions are actually carried out. Now, I know it's been suggested a homeowner organization hold the CR on the rest of this, but when that happens, required conditions are not followed through and no one enforces it. I can give you examples where that happens. Cobb Estate, 15 Great Road, Reed Lane, it could go on and on. That's just the reality of life. So the path, the public path that is being provided, for a connectivity between the Goldsmith Street access through some of the local roads. A Great Road needs to be usable for baby carriages, hand carts, wheelchairs, bicycles, and pedestrians, and in all seasons. The proposed dirt or grass path, or even with wood chips, while may be cheapest to create, is simply not acceptable and impractical for the public. It should be minimally of stone dust and more realistically of some sort of sustainable hard surface, such as permeable hardtop, and quite possibly ADA compliant. This could be where we could have an ADA compliant path. If something less, it just would be muddy, unusable for the public. So the Littleton community has expressed a strong desire to protect the agricultural land at Cooper Farm, join it with a town-owned community garden, hunger relief agricultural field, abutting the open fields to the Cooper Farm, and protect both with a permanent conservation restriction held by a public entity to maintain the community agricultural asset, and it is an asset, and scenic gateway to Littleton. I think to do otherwise is hard. If you fragment it, it defeats the purpose. So public charitable nonprofit organizations such as the Trust for Public Land had offered to organize a capital campaign to cover all costs, as they've done successfully in protecting farms and farmlands in surrounding communities, Groton, as well as blue-collar communities. It's just one page, please defer.
One page, you turn the page.
The appraised costs could be covered in full. The town would reap the agricultural and scenic benefits as stated as desirable as a proof of publicly created master plan and other planning documents such as the open space and recreation plan report, and absolutely no waivers or exceptions in Littleton's bylaws and rules would have been required. Littleton would benefit best if the above recommendations were followed. And once again, just to emphasize, the main concern is that field up in the corner next to the hunger relief garden, as well as the pathway.
All set? Thank you. You'll give that to Maren?
Yes.
Thank you. 1 second, sir.
Yeah.
Ma'am?
Yes, I'm Laura Marley at 212 Great Road. We're right just down the street from this. So the sidewalk that ends at our property. I was wondering, who's responsible for continuing it up to this property on the great?
Are you the house that's back in the field?
Yes.
Yes, I think we met once.
Okay.
I really don't know. Do you know, Jim?
It's Mass DOT land. We actually had a meeting with them last Friday about numerous items, and that is on the list to get, they're gonna look at it and see what it's gonna take.
Who put that road in, who put that sidewalk in originally?
Mass DOT.
And, okay. Well, let's see if we can make Mass DOT meet the same requirements that we require our builders and
They have
developers.
stringent requirements too, and it's a little, because they have to go by the complete streets policy as well.
Okay.
So.
Well, good.
they'd
We'll
say
try
it's
and
a
hold them
little
to the same
harder
standard.
to meet it.
That's the walkway.
It's kind of overgrown, it's got
okay.
more weeds
It's
than
there,
than
but like
pavement,
nobody
right?
walks on it because it's overgrown, right?
Well,
On your
I walk on it, but there's an overgrown sidewalk, and then there's one that was put in maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
And that has a granite curb, and it's probably 3 feet wide, and it's right along the edge of the road, and it ends at the flag property. So it goes up, there's a fire hydrant with a...
That's on the other side of the road, though?
It's opposite the Toyota parking lot.
Opposite the park.
Yeah, it's on the same side as this, it's right...
On the same side as Donald's?
Yeah, if you look on this map, it's right here. And
Okay.
you can see here, it goes, and it goes up to about, I guess it would be about here.
So that, before that, there's a little...
short of the daycare, right?
Yeah, there's a daycare in that field now, right?
Yeah, there's
That used to be all one field at one point in time, wasn't it? Now there's a
Yeah.
daycare in the middle of it all?
In the middle and before the daycare, there's a wood chip farm.
Okay.
For-
I'm just curious of whether or not,
But
because
that
it used
would
to
go
be a field to
beyond,
make it contiguous.
Yeah, you know where I
Yep.
mean, yeah,
Mhm.
so, and the other question is, while you're talking to the DOT, is the speed limit, because as things are now, if a car is here and sees nothing up ahead of it, it speeds up to 45 miles an hour. And coming up that road, you've got people coming out of our driveway, people coming out of the Toyota dealership, people will be coming out of Kimball's if that ever gets developed. People are coming out of the daycare center, and then you've got 2 entrances to the highway right here. So you might want to have them reduce the speed limit down to 30, you know, just
Going
east
up.
of that.
Yeah, the police sit over
east of that.
at the entrance to the farms often enough. I see them quite a bit.
Okay.
I have to knock on the door to wake them up, but, no, I'm kidding, I'm joking. Joking. Jeez, don't hold me to that one. 1 minute, ma'am, sir?
Yes. Just one thing, this here
Could you
is
say your name again?
Gerald James.
Thank you.
This here, the structure of it is very well laid out. But my concern is, how does this, plus the other 2 or 3 projects that weren't in the works, in for that area, how is that going to affect the infrastructure, the drainage systems, et cetera, of that whole area? And
That's why they have the engineer in Green International, who is the town representative on this project. We'll go over all those things, make sure that...
Excuse me?
Green International is the town's designated
Peer review.
peer review, so that they will make sure that the water calculations, the drainage, all that is within...
Well, it's the total
Except-
infrastructure of the town that I'm concerned about, not just the drainage.
Not just this place here in
et cetera,
particular?
The perk tests, and that is that, to me, the point itself put a strain on the infrastructure. This here is gonna put another strain on the infrastructure. And then we've got another one up in Great Road that's coming in from the other direction into this area that is gonna put a major, between the 2 of them, I believe is gonna put a major strain on the infrastructure of that area.
At the last town meeting, we voted to allot some money for a sewer study.
Pardon me?
We're doing, the town's doing a sewer study currently.
I know that, it's
So-
been studying it for quite a while, and I want to keep my opinions to myself. I think that's the best way to handle that, is a sewer study. We need a sewer system, all right?
Now
That's
you're
it.
telling us your opinion. I thought you were going to keep that to yourself.
No, we need a sewer system. My opinion of the study is it's been going on for about 10 years, hasn't it, since its inception.
All right, thank you. Ma'am, and then this will be the last question. I think we're going to get moving. Yes.
Cami Bean, just to follow up on Laura's statement, in the development impact statement document, I don't know if we're just talking about that yet, but there is a line item stating that there is not going to be a full traffic study, but maybe in light of what we're hearing, that would be warranted, in fact, to do a full traffic study, given what's going on in town.
Okay.
Please, says Laura.
That's something we can address with Green and such, and hear from you. Thank you, ma'am. We've got that in the notes, correct?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I think we're all set for now. We will continue the meeting until...
February 2nd, so that's the next planning board meeting. Do you want to do this one early?
Yes.
We start at
6:30.
do this at 6:45?
Sure.
Do you want to do that?
Mhm.
so continue to 6:45 on Thursday, February 2nd.
What time, Mark?
6:45.
Melissa, are you leaving?
Yes. Do you need
What do we got next?
Library.
Are you here for that, or are you leaving?
I'll be
Alright.
in touch with Sam next. We're in constant touch. You want
All
me
right.
to say?
No, never mind.
I spent how many nights with you this week?
This is public.
Master plan, select. No, I'll stay. I'm happy to stay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll see
Thank
you on
you.
the second. Appreciate it.
Okay, where are we now? What number is that?
The last one.
Is it?
Thank you. Good night, folks.
So who made that motion? I missed that part. To continue.
He made a motion to continue
Second.
until, he seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, we had that.
Copy of John.
He'll be giving those
He
to
did.
Maren,
Yeah.
correct?
He already
Good. I guarantee you, ain't no one page.
Little light reading.
Every time I hear Sudbury Valley trustees and like the big farm deal,
They're just
that's why
thieves.
I'm here. That's why I ran.
They're just thieves, aren't they?
Yeah, they were planning somebody else's like plan for their land before it is even on the market. Like that's, you can't
We
do
raise our
that.
own personal money. Well, get off your fucking lawn.
Thank you.
Find me that 10 feet.
All right, what time, how much longer till the next meeting?
8:15. It's now.
Oh, they're already behind? You don't have to stay. Just wanted to ask you something about the last meeting. And police, when we're at the police station. Yes, that one. That's all. I get tired. Wasn't there a meeting Monday too? Monday, Tuesday?
That's what you get the big money for.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
All right, we are,
Moving along.
Yeah.
Moving along.
I believe so.
Yeah.
One thing left.
We have 8:15 parking, site plan review for parking at the Rubenhor Library. Sam Alvarez, are you here? Alvarez?
You recognize him from every time you go in the library, right?
He's the one that's always with putting the, folding the ears over on the paper, on the books. Holding his place. They call that dog-eared or something? Is that what it's called? Yeah.
And he just doesn't read anything, right?
No readings.
This is just an informal meeting?
Well, let's see, Sam is preparing the grant for construction funds for the library.
And through that, you're looking for some input from us as to where we think you should not put the building?
I'm looking for approval of the plan for the schematic design.
The
This is
grant
not-
application will be stronger if they have a vote from the planning board on the parking layout.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to put it up there? Do you have something for up here or no?
I don't know if I sent it to her.
If you put it up there, can everyone see that from over there? And Jamie, you want to, or,
I got
That's
it.
Okay. So, I apologize for bringing this so late. It was an oversight on them. So basically, this is the schematic design for the library. This is how the architect has set up the parking plan for it. It probably won't stay like this. Right now, we're just bringing up the schematic design. The engineering plans are far off in the future. We're not really sure when. So the way it works is we receive the grant, and we have when we receive the grant, we have 6 months to go to town meeting to get town approval, and then we'll work on creating the actual engineering plans. But when we actually receive the grant, could be next year, could be 2 or 3 or 4 years from now. So basically right now there are 129 spaces that exist, and we would be looking to increase that to 148 by adding some spaces here in that little circle in front of the library, expanding some of the spaces here, and creating spaces here. So basically what we're asking for is for the board to approve
this plan contingent upon the engineering plans in the future. Any questions?
Sure.
Not this time.
Mark?
Do you, how many spaces do you currently use for the library on average?
We sort of share it with everybody, so we're not sure exactly, but according to MBLC, the Mass Board of Library Commissioners, they require one space for every 400 square feet. So our building is 16,000 square feet, so that works out to about 40 spaces.
40 spaces.
Yeah, and then the new building would be about 22,000 square feet, so that would work out to about 60 spaces.
So I wanted to design
60 more spaces, just for that building alone.
Just, it would go from 40 to 60.
So it's 20 additional.
So 20 additional.
20 more than you're required by the square footage you have now.
Correct.
By there. And the main building right now is, how many square feet is the town hall now? Well, I think we gotta look at it as an entire package, because if you're connecting driveways or parking lots or whatever, then we need to make sure that the ones for the existing building, connected with what you wish to propose, are gonna cover all that, otherwise that doesn't make any sense to me.
Actually, the last time that we did a site plan for this building, that's where you got the existing number of parking spaces from.
Necessary
Well,
for the existing building.
Right, the number existing, and the planning board at that time approved that site plan.
So we have 129 from the existing site plan for the whole building?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's how many we need for the existing footprint.
That's what the planning board approved at the time.
Okay, so for you to build that, you actually need 60 more spaces, not 20. No, they're giving up the library, but the library falls back into square footage for...
But it doesn't fall under the 400 square foot requirement.
What is it? Could be 200. What is ours for the existing building as it's used? This one here, what's it? Do we know that? Okay, well, I think we need to know that. I think we ought to take it as a whole entity, not just simply 20 for just the library, to be honest with you. All right? I don't like, you're gonna take the circle away from in front of the existing library entrance, and...
No, the circle stays.
Where are you putting the extra parking then?
To the side.
Further over to the road?
Right.
And right now, we have 16,000 square feet in the library existing.
Right.
And you want 22,000, which is 8,000 more feet? To the tune of $16 million?
No, it's going to be 13 million. Well, right, if it was done today, it would be 10.7 million. And then with escalation costs, it would be about another million or two. So that would bring it up to about 12 to 13 million.
The total cost to the town is going to be 12 million?
Right. No, the total cost, then the grant covers up to 50%, so that's about 6 million.
That's still subjected to the state, how much they could be 30%, correct? Only up to 50%.
No, it's between 45 and 50%. So right now...
Guaranteed?
Yes.
If they give you a grant?
Yes.
So then the town is going to be on the hook for $6 million
Right.
for 8,000 square feet. That's the math. All right. And what did you say the usage was of the building now? How many people go in and out of there every day?
Last year, it was over 5,000.
A week?
A year.
A year. 5,000?
Over 1,000 a week. So it's actually 54,000 in a year. So.
54,000, so that's 1,000 people a week. We're open 6 days. What's that, 150 people going in and out of there every day?
Yeah. Actually, sometimes more than that.
That's about right.
How do you come up with those numbers?
We have a door counter.
So every time it's open and closes, another number?
It's
divided
people
in
walking by.
Well, I think it needs to address the entire parking area. I don't think you can take it just as one. This building has to be, because it's going to become something else.
Well, that's why we're asking that it's contingent upon the final engineering plan, which will be...
I'd like to know how many parking spaces are necessary for this building with the library as it is now.
Yeah, I hear what
Okay.
you're saying. The kicker is, the grant proposal is much stronger if he has your support.
I don't grant my support.
I don't think we have enough information at hand right now.
So this, if we're taking a vote, is that what we're looking? I say I'm not happy with the information I've been given so far.
When do you have to have the application in by? 2 weeks. Is anybody else here from the Library Commission that's been on the board? I know I sat in on quite a bit until we got busy here.
Mark?
I say let them go put the application in. We're so early in the permitting process that we're gonna be addressing this.
Well, if you apply for this grant, are you going to the engineers to have a drawing made, so we're gonna have to pay an engineer to draw all this stuff, right?
That's gonna be part of the process.
Of going for the grant?
Yeah.
No, after the grant.
So no, regardless of what we say, I mean, it'd be happier for you if we said, everyone said, yeah, great, wonderful, have at it. It doesn't cost the town any more money to have any more designs, any more figuring out anything to apply for the grant. Is that what you're telling me?
So this is, right now we're just doing the schematic design process. When we receive the grant, that grant will cover the engineering plans, all the other.
So the town will not pay for any more drawings, any more assessments?
That's covered by the grant.
That's covered by the grant?
Yes.
The town's already allocated the money for the schematic.
Right, we have already gotten that, we got that in 2014.
I personally don't feel that I have enough information as far as the driveway is concerned. That's me.
Can I put it to a vote?
You can.
Right. I want to get this public input before we...
Yeah?
I attended the last, I'm not a public, I mean a,
Where are you from?
sorry, Katie Coon.
Your name, please?
Katie Coon. I don't know technical details. I attended the presentation of the library plan and heard the architect talk about how they had, it seemed like they'd put a lot of thought into the number of parking places that they had added to the plan, and they said that they had right-sized the parking.
That's what you think?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can get the guy to, for me, I've already expressed my opinion, so me, I want to see somebody who says that these are the number of parking spaces we need for this building, inclusive of the existing library, and you want 60 more, because right now we got enough to service what we have. That's what it's looking like.
Right, and
now you're adding another building, and you're only adding 20 spaces. I don't think there's enough. So that's, for 1,000 people a week to go in and out of there.
Well, there's also, the architect mentioned that we could put parking spaces here, which adds another 20 spaces.
We could.
Yes. Right now, this is a schematic design.
You also got to watch out for how much impervious you put in also. How much you make impervious. Again?
The way I had proposed, the way I drafted the decision, if you care to use it, was to make it contingent on site plan review once the engineering plans are done. Those are all the details that would be in a site plan review.
So if we don't support it, we don't send it forward, he doesn't get to apply for the grant.
I don't think that's a decision we should have to make. I think we should support it, let them apply for the grant. We're just the planning board, we're just parking pavement and stuff like that, we're not.
Well, we are the planning board, we should be planning.
Exactly,
We didn't plan
we're so
this,
early in the
but-
planning on
right.
this right now. Let them go forward and then let them come back to us once they get money to do an actual study
I
and everything else like that.
understand your point. I can continue to keep my vote the way it is, so if somebody else wishes to change it.
I feel like there should have been more information at hand for this. I feel like there's a couple loose ends personally, so I'm leaning the way you are.
If you can get some, if you get the information we need for this building, and I just don't, and honestly, I just don't feel that you've given us enough information.
Are there any conditions you could put on a vote that would sway?
You have any suggestions? Right now,
I just told you, it's contingent upon them actually doing a final design. So you're not locked into anything right now. All you're locked into is the fact that they can come down the road.
Okay, so
keep going.
a final design that includes reuse, specific reuse of the existing library building and adequate or proper parking capacity for that. Would that cover it?
And staying inside the non-pervious and not increasing.
We're in the water resource too.
Well, yeah, that's all.
We're in the
a
water
given.
resource district too, right?
Right, that's all a given for the,
Just seems like, it just doesn't seem right. Sir?
Rob Houston, 20 Meeting House Road. So I guess the only thing I would add is if you don't support it, they don't have a chance at the grant. So you're like killing it in advance. That's the really big concern I have, is at the end of the day, the engineers are charged with making the parking fit with the building. So maybe the building ends up getting a little smaller in order to get the I mean, we just heard 7 waivers, right?
Didn't give them any, did we?
Not yet. My point is what you're doing is throwing the little grenade in his grant without even,
All right,
he's not even getting a chance
I can
to
understand
do
your
the
reason. I guess we could leave it to town floor to let the, and, I mean, again,
So
some.
yeah.
All right,
Sorry.
No, you made a good valid point, and I appreciate it. And again, I guess it really it's up to the townspeople to decide how they want to spend their money.
So, straw poll, we've got 2 nays.
I'm in favor of it.
I've got 3 kids in town that are still going to school, so I'm a yay for it.
So where's the 3 yays?
I said 2, we got 1 missing, so we've got a vote that's gonna have to watch a video.
So,
It's not gonna hurt us to let them have the thing, contingent upon all those things flying,
Well, we have to
making it
state
through
those,
muster.
things contingent.
I'm not happy about it, and, on TV, I don't like it at all, in any way, shape, or form, but if the town turns around and says they wanna spend money on, $6-7 million for 8,000 square feet, geez, I hope they build me a house someday.
Just let them go down the path and we'll see where it leads.
I'll make a motion
Hang ourselves.
Yeah.
to approve, what are we gonna call it?
schematic
The
lighting.
schematic design, with the contingent being an engineer design that accommodates the parking for the existing use of the building, with the library being vacated and a new use in it, and the new library, not to affect the watershed resource district or to increase the impervious area that's allowed by the town ordinance.
Or to ask for any variances.
Anything else? Or waivers?
Or waivers, right? Isn't that what you just told me?
I didn't say that.
This gentleman back there said no waivers.
yeah, I wouldn't recommend making this vote say anything about the Water Resource District special permit, because that, you have control over that anyway.
This is just a vote to say that we agree with the concept and.
So I'll amend my motion to not mention the Water Resource District, but we do want the engineering.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You're retaining site plan review for when the site plan is ready.
So
I got a motion.
So moved.
That's not how it goes.
I second.
Second, I have a second. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Happy. We go
No.
now.
So it is written, so it shall be done.
Thank you very much.
I made you work for it, huh? Had you thinking, huh?
Sam,
Thank you.
come with more information from
I
now.
know, I'm sorry, this was last week. Sorry. Thank you.
All right, where do we stand now?
We're done.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a
Second.
I second it. So moved. Kill it. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I hope it was informative, progressive, and not too painful.